Good morning, students. Today in this video, I'm going to present about a topic from class 9th and chapter 5, that is fundamentals unit of life. In this particular chapter, we basically talk about cell. So let's just begin and let's see what basically is there in this video. So, when we talk about the particular chapter that is cell, a lot of things are there. Different parts of cells are there. It is membrane, it is nucleus, it is cytoplasm, and cell organelles. In this particular video, I'm basically going to focus on semi-autonomous organelles which are present in a eukaryotic cell. So, basically, we'll focus on semi-autonomous organelle. So, what is this semi-autonomous organelle? Semi stands for half, autonomous, which has certain control over themselves, right? So, semi-autonomous organelle, when we talk about with respect to the cell, these are the organelles which are basically self-replicating in nature. They are able to duplicate itself whenever required. So they are not dependent on the entire cell. When it will divide, then only these organelles will divide. No, this is not the case. So these organelles, they have power of replicating themselves whenever needed, whether the whole cell is being duplicated or not. So they are self-replicating organelles. And why they are able to replicate themselves? Because they have their own DNA and ribosomes. So we will see what kind of ribosomes and what all other things are present other than DNA. Due to the presence of DNA and ribosomes, they are able to prepare some of their proteins which are needed for their division, and that's how they are able to replicate themselves. So did you understand? So this is about a semi-autonomous organelles. If we talk about eukaryotic cell, where cell organelles are basically present, how many types of semi-autonomous organelles are there? Two. One is mitochondria, another is chloroplast. So we have these two organelles which are called semi-autonomous organelle. That means these are the two organelles. They have their own DNA as well as their own ribosomes. Okay, so let's just see mitochondria and chloroplast in little detail. So the first organelle which we are going to talk about is mitochondria. So mitochondria is basically associated with energy synthesis. So it is the site for energy formation, and it is present in all aerobic organism. Aerobic organisms means organisms which need oxygen for their survival. So mitochondria is present in all kind of aerobic organisms, including plants and animals. That means in our cell, in plant cells, in protozoan cells itself. So the mitochondria is present. So we all consist of mitochondria in our cell. But there are certain cells which lack mitochondria. For example, all the prokaryotes. So all the prokaryotes, whether it is blue-green algae, whether it is other bacteria, they do not have mitochondria. And there are certain eukaryotic cells present in our body itself which does not have mitochondria. For example, RBCs. Other than that, in plant cells we see a sieve tubes. So sieve cells, they also does not contain mitochondria. Okay, so there are certain exceptions there in eukaryotic cells where you can say that mitochondria is absent. Okay, when we talk about mitochondria, functions of mitochondria, I have already told you that it is related to synthesis of energy, and because it is the site of energy synthesis, it is called powerhouse of the cell. And the energy which is being formed in mitochondria, it is stored in the form of ATP, adenosine triphosphate, and this ATP is called energy currency of the cell, because for any sort of active processes which take place inside our body, we need to spend some currency. And what is that currency? We need to spend the energy. So it is acting as a currency when we talk about our body itself. So energy currency is ATP, adenosine triphosphate. So now we'll talk about the structure of mitochondria. We have discussed about its feature. We have discussed about its functions. So let's see the structure now. This is the diagram of mitochondria, very common structure. You must have seen it already. And if you notice, a lot of things are given in this particular diagram. As you can see that the mitochondria, it's a double membranous organelle, and you see it has outer membrane and inner membrane. Between the outer membrane and inner membrane, there is a place called intermembrane space. Other than that, you'll also be able to see that the DNA is present in mitochondria. It has its own ribosomes, it has matrix itself, and there is one more thing which is present in mitochondria, that is O.xysomes. So we will talk about all these things in little detail now. Yes. So first thing is about the morphology of mitochondria. If I talk about morphology, how it looks like, right? So mitochondria, usually you will find that they have sausage shape. Okay. So usually mitochondria is sausage shaped, but that doesn't mean it is the only shape of mitochondria present in organisms. In different organisms, we can see different types or different shapes of mitochondria. Mitochondria can be there in sausage shaped, it can be there in disc-like structure, it can be oval, it can be filamentous, it can be in the form of ring. So there are different shapes of mitochondria present in different organisms. If I talk about its size, its diameter is around 1 to 5 micrometers. Its length is around 1 to 4 micrometers, and the thickness is 0.2 to 1 micrometer. So that is about its dimensions. And very important thing is its components. Just now we have seen in the diagram. So all those things are the component of mitochondria. The very first thing is its membranes. Membranes means here we talk about its boundary. So membranes are basically forming a boundary of mitochondria and keep it separate from the cytoplasm as well as from the other organelles. And the membranes are double. So it's a double membranous organelle where we have the outer membrane as well as the inner membrane. Outer membrane, if we talk about features of outer membrane, it is smooth and freely permeable, which allow uptake of substrates and release of ATP. If we talk about inner membrane, so if I talk about inner membrane is semi-permeable in nature, just like plasma membrane, it is also semi-permeable. And this particular membrane has a lot of enzymes in it. So they are rich in enzymes, and inner membrane is generally present into numerous infolds, and these infoldings are called cristae. This cristae, it greatly increases the surface area of mitochondrion. It is actually the inner membrane of mitochondria where a lot of enzymes are present, and these enzymes are basically participating in respiratory processes. So the cristae, when it increases the surface area, it basically increases the functionality of mitochondria. Next thing, what is present in mitochondria is oxysomes, what I was talking about. So inside the inner part of the inner membrane, lollipop-shaped particles are present, and these particles are basically called oxysomes. This oxysome consists of two parts. One is its head, another is its base. The head is also called F1 particle, and the base is also called F0 particle. So did you understand? So we also say F1 F0 particles. So they basically forms oxysome, and this oxysomes basically has the ATPase activity. That means they are concerned with ATP formation. So whenever hydrogen ion or H plus ion it crosses from these oxysomes, ATP is being produced. So oxysomes are basically related to ATP synthesis. And the next part of mitochondrial structure is its matrix. What is this matrix? The wide space present between the cristae is filled with certain fluid, dense fluid, and this dense fluid is called mitochondrial matrix, where a lot of mitochondrial reactions are going on. This matrix consists of its DNA, it consists of its RNA, it also consists of 70S ribosome. You need to understand here, though mitochondria is present in eukaryotic cell, it has ribosomes which are equivalent to or which are similar to prokaryotes, right? And somewhere the 70S ribosomes and the presence of DNA, it gives a hint that somewhere the mitochondria has originated from the prokaryotes itself, or they may be prokaryote itself, right? So they also have a 70th type of ribosomes which are same as prokaryotes, and they also have certain proteins, they have ions, fibers, enzymes, and all other things which are generally present in the matrix. So these things are present in the matrix of mitochondria. So that's all about the structure of mitochondria. Functions we have already discussed, that it is a powerhouse of the cell, and they store ATP, and the ATP is called energy currency of the cell. So that's all about mitochondria. Let's talk about the next organelle, which is called chloroplast. So, like mitochondria, chloroplast is also a kind of semi-autonomous organelle. That means this organelle also consists of its own DNA and ribosomes, and by which they can synthesize their proteins and they can replicate whenever required. So you know that chloroplast, it's a very common type of plastid, and this particular plastid consists of chlorophyll. So, due to the presence of chlorophyll, you know that photosynthesis is plants are capable of carrying out photosynthesis. So, the chloroplasts are basically present in plant cells. They are also present in green protists like Euglena, and they are also present in certain prokaryotes. That is cyanobacteria, which we also called blue-green algae. They are actually a kind of bacteria. Cyanobacteria or blue-green algae, they are also a kind of bacteria. Chloroplasts are basically absent in animal and fungal cells. So, animal cells, fungal cells, and even the protozoan cells, there the chloroplasts are not present. So, what is the function of chloroplast? So, as we know that chloroplast consists of chlorophyll, which is a green pigment, and chlorophyll is responsible for trapping the sunlight, and that's how it makes the sunlight available for photosynthesis. And that is why chloroplast is also called kitchen of the cells. So, chloroplast is a site for photosynthesis where chlorophyll absorbs the sunlight and carry out photosynthesis, and hence it is called kitchen of the cell. Due to the presence of chlorophyll, it also imparts green color to different parts of the plant, like green leaves, young stems. So, young stems also you will see that they are green in color. So, it's all because of the presence of chlorophyll, which are present in chloroplast. Chloroplast, by the process of photosynthesis, you know that it releases oxygen and utilizes carbon dioxide. So it takes the carbon dioxide and releases the oxygen. And it is also a site where starch is stored. Other than that, you will also find that chloroplast is, because it is related to photosynthesis, that means it is related to the synthesis of energy as well, right? So ATP in one or the other form, it is also formed inside the chloroplast. So these are certain functions of chloroplast, and let's just see how it looks like. What is the structure and what are the components of a chloroplast is present. So we'll focus on the structure now. So as you can see, this is a diagrammatic representation of chloroplast, where you can see, like mitochondria, it consists of double membrane. Like mitochondria, it had its own DNA. It has its own 70S type of ribosome. It has certain disc-like structure. It has a thylakoid. It has lamellae and all such things. So let's just see one by one the functions of these parts which are present in chloroplast. So if we talk about forms of chloroplast like mitochondria, they also vary in shapes. They can be spherical, they can be discoidal, they can be oval, even they can be filamentous. So chloroplast also present in different forms based on. So chloroplast also consists of different shapes. And if we talk about size of chloroplast, it is 4 to 10 micrometers in long axis, means lengthwise it is 4 to 10 micrometers. Now, a second thing is about its components. So, like mitochondria, it is also a double membranous structure where the membranes forms the boundary of the organelle. It has its outer membrane and inner membrane. And outer membrane is smooth and freely permeable to smaller molecules, whereas inner membrane, like plasma membrane, it is also semi-permeable in nature, and it is rich in proteins such as carrier proteins. So with the help of carrier proteins, molecules which are needed to enter into the chloroplast or leaves the chloroplast, this incoming and outgoing processes can take place. So that is a function of carrier protein. If we talk about matrix of a chloroplast, it is colorless and granular, and the matrix of chloroplast is basically called a stroma. The stroma, it consists of various substances, like it has its circular double-stranded DNA, it has RNA, 70S ribosomes, as in case of mitochondria also we have seen, and a lot of different molecules are present. And stroma is a site for dark reaction of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis, it's not a single step process, it's a multi-step process where different phases are present. So one phase is there, one phase we call dark phase, or the light independent reaction of photosynthesis. So it is the stroma where dark reactions are basically going on. Next thing is about lamellae. Now, various other tubular structures are visible in chloroplast. So, the lamellae, it is present in various forms. First variety is thylakoid. When we talk about thylakoid, these are membrane bound compartment which consists of chlorophyll. So certain disc like structure you'll be able to see in the diagrammatic representation of chloroplast, where you'll see that these membrane bound compartments are thylakoid, and it is the thylakoid where chlorophylls are present, and hence each thylakoid they are capable of trapping the sunlight. Okay, the thylakoids, they are not arranged singly, they are arranged closely, or they lie together in piles or in the form of stacks. So thylakoid, they stack one on the other and they form granum. A single stack is called granum, and so many stacks are present in chloroplast, so all the stacks together called grana. And it is the grana where chlorophyll present, means each thylakoid chlorophylls are present, that means each grana consists of chlorophyll. So we consider grana as a site for light reaction of photosynthesis, where sunlight is needed for the formation of ATP. So it is the grana which is responsible for light reaction of photosynthesis. And if you'll notice in the picture, you will see that each grana or all the granas are connected with each other with certain in membranous tubules, and these membranous tubules are called stroma lamellae. So that's all about the structure of chloroplast. We have seen the structure, we have seen the function, we have seen its basic point. Okay, so thank you so much.